Not every crab is a special crab, but a lot of them are.
The thing about stars is they're better than the rest of us. The thing about stars is they're better than the rest of us.
Hello friends, welcome to a new reading vlog for Oathbringer, the third book in the Stormlight Archive series. I realized I have forgotten to film anything for this reading vlog and I'm already 200 pages into the book, so let's talk about it, shall we? This video will contain spoilers for books 1, 2, and 3 of the Stormlight Archive series. If you have not finished Oathbringer, and presumably the first 2 books in the series, please don't watch this video. I would love for you to hang out and discuss these books with me, but only when you're finished, okay? Don't spoil yourself. Big many spoilers in this video, so please back away safely and then come back to me and we can talk about stuff once you're caught up and you're finished, okay? Take care of yourself. Now that that's out of the way, Oathbringer. I am 206 pages in right now on chapter 19. Not a ton has happened, and yet I have more tabs in the first 200 pages than I think I've done in the first 2 books. So I'm definitely getting better at just tabbing things, like wildly not caring about what I'm doing with the tabs and stuff. I should state, if for some reason you missed the first 2 videos and you don't already watch this channel, I have read the Stormlight Archive series, the first 2 books, 14 times now. This current reread was number 14, but I've only read Oathbringer twice. And so this is my 3rd time reading Oathbringer. I don't remember it very well. I remember all of like the big plot points, you know, all of the key like character development things, but just like little minute details I don't have any memory for. So it's really kind of exciting getting into this reread and finally being on Oathbringer because it feels like fresh and new and I'm like rediscovering things, and it's getting me so much more hyped for Rhythm of War, which I don't need extra hype for. I'm as hyped as I could possibly be, and yet there's more hype now. So that's happening. If you've missed the first 2 videos in this reading vlog series, I've been tabbing my way and annotating through the books, which I've never done before even though I read them so many times, because I've just never been one to like annotate books before. It's a new practice for me. But since I'm so deeply invested in Stormlight Archive and the Cosmere as a whole, I wanted to start kind of tabbing different things and kind of linking things together and just having more fun with it, so that way when it's time for the new book to come out, I can like be like prepared with my theories and stuff, and I can get really invested. That's one of my favorite things about getting in like a new series, whether it's, you know, TV or movies or books, just like getting super invested in like the fandom side of it and being able to like theorize about what's going to happen and discuss these things with other fans online is such a fun thing for me. And it's been such a long time since I've had like a new community like that to like get really involved with, and so I'm just so excited to be like into the Cosmere now, and that's why I'm tabbing my way through the series. I'm sure if you've watched both of my other vlogs, you're tired of hearing me talking about the goddamn tabs, but to recap, I am tabbing for foreshadowing, general Cosmere nonsense, stuff about the Heralds, stuff about the Radiance, stuff about Odium specifically, and the big what the fuck moments. And then I'm also tabbing for some fun silly things like World Hopper sightings, big Hoid moments, which are separate from World Hopper sightings, at least in Stormlight, because he's more present in Stormlight than he is in the other books, and the Dissy and Amy and Sleepless sightings, because it's been really fun. Just every time a fucking crab comes on page, I'm like, are you a Sleepless? And I'm having a lot of fun with that. So that's been fun. I am 200 pages into Oathbringer and I'm enjoying it immensely. I know that in my Words of Radiance vlog, I talked about how Dalinar is one of my favorite characters. Kaladin is at the, you know, very top of the tier for me for like the entire Cosmere. But I think Dalinar might be my 2nd favorite character. He's so much. He goes through so much, but I love him a lot. I don't know. I'll probably talk about that more throughout this vlog since this is Dalinar's book. But while I do love Dalinar as a character and his journey is one of my favorites that I've seen, reading his flashback chapters is rough. It was rough the first time, it was rough the 2nd time, and it's rough here on take number 3. Because Dalinar's not a good person in his flashbacks. Like when you see the younger Dalinar, it's jarring. And like throughout the books, like it's been stated that like Dalinar was like this, you know, big bad war machine. Like you set Dalinar loose on a battlefield and he just killed everybody. Like, it's been talked about, but you don't see that. You don't see that Dalinar. You don't see the Blackthorn. You see this new, changed, reformed Dalinar who cares about, like, peace and unity and trying to just save the goddamn world, you know? Like, you see this version of Dalinar. And so going back and seeing, like, where he started and the journey he's gone on, while it's so interesting and it's so well done, I hate young Dalinar. I hate him. He's just brutal. But it's, I don't know, it's a hate-love relationship. Because, like, I love the story. But I just don't like being in his head when he's that person. Because it's not my favorite, right? It's not my favorite. So, that's been rough. I'm on a Dalinar flashback right now. That's where I stopped. And, yeah. He just now remembered, in the present day, he just now remembered Evie's name. So, that's where we're at. What else is happening? Kaladin is with the Parshmen, the Voidbringers, who he's learning aren't really Voidbringers, and that they're literally just like people, basically, and they just want to be free and live their lives. And it's such a good story. Like, when Kaladin's just like, this is not what we thought was gonna happen, like, this is beyond what we expected, and he wants to help them and, like, teach them how to, like, protect themselves and how to, it's wild. It's so wild, and I love that so much. I love that, like, just all the Parshmen aren't just straight up Voidbringers, you know? Like, that is what everybody expected, you know? But the fact that that's not what happened is so great. I love that little plot so much. And, the way that Kaladin just immediately wants to adopt this group of people. Like, he's such a mother hen, and I love him so much for it. And it gives me a lot of feelings. I just, like, bawled my eyes out when Kaladin reunited with his family. When Lirin sees Cal and he, like, hugs him and he starts, like, crying and he's like, my boy, my little boy, and, like, tears are falling down my face, right? And my depression's been bad lately, to the point where I've been, like, apathetic and, like, numb, and, like, I have not been able to express emotion, like, at all. But boy, that scene just brought it out of me. I was weeping. So there's that. And also when he meets his new little brother Orden, I just, oh, it hurts, but, like, in a good way. I don't even know. It's a lot. It's a lot. Hey everyone, little reading update. I am doing reading sprints with Casey right now on the Hangouts. Hello, friend. Casey, say hi. Slowly zoom into your face.
From this very attractive angle because I have a heating pad on my neck.
It's great. It's great. We live for it.
True.
Casey is like 50-some pages into Oathbringer.
Yeah, that's not far.
Yeah, and I'm like 200 and something. Oh, Darkness, my old friend. Darkness, my old herald. I'm 274 pages in, so we're gonna do some reading sprints tonight. Say bye, Casey.
Hi, Casey. Are you filming me?
Just a little bit.
Maybe, is this why your spine is compressed?
No.
Hello, friends. I'm just popping in here to give you guys a little reading update. I think since my last update, I've read about 100 pages-ish. I'm not entirely sure. Hang on. Where am I? Alright, I'm at the end of part 1. The end of part 1. So I'm on page 326, and I think when I left off with you guys, I was at like 206, so a little more than 100 pages. Anyways, while I talk about what I've read so far in this lovely, lovely tome, I'm gonna fold my laundry. Sorry, that was probably loud. I'm being a very messy version of me right now because I've had a bad week. To say the least, I've had a bad week. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna fold some laundry. So, I'm gonna fold laundry while I talk to you guys. I hope that's cool. I'm a good booktuber. People love to see laundry folding, don't they? That's the cool stuff. That's what the cool kids do. We just got to the scene where Kaladin, he's been traveling with these Parshmen, with the Voidbringers, this entire time since he's left Hearthstone. And Kaladin has a tendency to, like, adopt everyone, right? He loves how much he meets a group of people and, like, he just immediately, like, takes them under his wing, right? And, you know, they're trying to, like, explain to him their side. They're like, you know, we've literally been imprisoned our entire lives. Like, how can you expect us to not fight back for that, to not want justice for that? And Kaladin starts to see their side, and he realizes that not everything is black and white. Like, there's so much more to everything. And that in itself is so interesting, just to seeing Kaladin being like, these aren't the evil monsters we expected. These are basically normal people who just want to live normal lives, and I agree with them. Like, they are not in the wrong, but also attacking the people, all these other people. Like, it's not like he's having such a hard time figuring out what's right in this scenario, because he agrees with the Parshmen. Like, they should not have to worry about being. Oh, I have a little friend here. Do you want to say hi? Hi, this is Sophrena. Is that true? Look at your little footies. Look at your footies. Say hi. You're pretty cute, huh? Where were we? Oh, anyway, so Kaladin's struggling with what's right and what's wrong and all this stuff, and he's having a time. But there's just that scene at the end when he decides it's time to leave, time to go. He's got an opportunity, it's time to go. And the high storm is rolling in, and he sees all of these people who are not in shelter. They are not safe from the storm. The storm is coming, right? The storm is right there. And Kaladin, he loses his goddamn mind, and he starts running, and he starts grabbing people, and he's trying to take them to this like storm bunker, and Syl is like, you can't save them all, Kaladin, like, you cannot save everyone. And he's like, fucking watch me. he's so intent on trying to save everyone, and it's heartbreaking seeing that he can't, and he can't accept that. He cannot accept this, and I think that's gonna play into his fourth ideal, which, as we all know, if you read Oathbringer, which I'm assuming if you're this deep into this video, please tell me you've read all of Oathbringer. He can't say it. He can't bring himself to do it at the end of the book. And I'm interested to see what's going on there when we get into Rhythm of War, especially since there's a year-long time jump. God, I didn't think about that. There's no way he'll have had him set the ideals off screen, right? No way. No way. Oh my god, my poor baby. He's gone a year without swearing that ideal. Okay. This is not what we're talking about. I need to backtrack. He does the thing where he, like, fucking splits the storm. He's just like, right? And, like, the storm goes around him, and it's fucking wild. He has, like, hundreds of windspread around him, which we're not gonna talk about that right now. But, anyways. So I have a lot of feelings about Kaladin and that entire just scene when he's trying to save everyone, and he breaks the storm, and Syl's like, you know, I'm sorry it wasn't enough, and he Kaladin. I worry about Shaylin. I worry about Shaylin. And then she fights the Midnight Mother, Shapir. I have no idea how to say the Unmaid's names, honestly. Anyways, the Midnight Mother, one of the Unmaid, she confronts it, and it's amazing. That entire scene when they've gotten into this like secret room, and there's like all these murals on the wall and all these different things, and like the disintegrating books on the floors, and then the Midnight Mother's putting out like these like demon monsters who look like other people. Like, there's ones that look like the people that are fighting them, like Adolan and Renarin and Bridge 4, and then Shaylin starts putting out her illusions against it. It's like, it's so intense. And then the moment when she touches the Unmaid, and like they're like inside each other's heads, and it's so good. It's so good. And like that moment when she's like, she feels so like vulnerable, and she's like, in her mind she was just picturing herself clinging to Pattern, like his like humanoid form that you see in Shadesmart, and like hugging him and holding on for dear life is what it said, because the Unmaid was trying to break her bond with Pattern and insert herself instead, which is such an interesting line. Moment of her just being like clinging to dear life with Pattern, and just, it gave me a lot of feels. The Spren Radiant Bond is my favorite thing in this series. I don't know why, I just love it so much. In those moments when it's like you just see how deeply they like truly care about each other, and like how they really are like puzzle pieces, you know, like they need each other, they fit together. It's just, I love it, it's great. This is a long clip, and I've barely folded any laundry, so I'm gonna tap out now, but here's another update once I read more in a little bit. Hello! It has been a time since I've updated this vlog with thoughts about Oathbringer, because I'm trash. So I don't even remember the last clip I filmed for you guys, because I've been reading this book for like 2 months now. It feels like that. I genuinely have no idea how long I've been reading this book for. My mental health has just been getting worse and worse and worse. So, reading's been tough, and I finally have started reading again. The past like 3 or 4 days I've actually been reading a little bit each night and getting like 70, 80, 100 pages done each night. So I've actually made quite a huge dent in the book, but I've not been filming anything because, again, mental health sucks, and just getting in front of the camera and talking to you guys just doesn't feel good to do right now because I don't feel like myself. I feel like I'm a trash monster. Oh, I cut my hair. I got it shorter again. I don't know. It was like here, I think. So it's just like 2 inches, but it's shorter now. It's kind of... Anyways, I am currently on page 774 of Oathbringer, chapter 79. The other day I counted how many tabs I have thus far in this book, and I think it was 68, and I've since added some, so it's probably 70 something now, which I think is more than I did in all of Words of Radiance, and definitely more than I did in Way of Kings, and we're not done yet. So that's fun. I love this book so much. I love the story, I love the character work, I love everything that's happening in this book. I forgot how many Mosh point of views there are. Listen, I'm full team fuck Mosh, so we have to suffer through a bunch of his point of views, at least in like one part of this book, and it's, I mean, they're not that bad, but I don't like him, so meh. So there's like a whole part in this book, and I completely forgot that you don't really get like a Kaladin point of view. Kaladin's in the background of a lot of point of views, so like he's there, but you're not getting like in his head, which I don't like so much. Kaladin's my favorite, and just anytime we take like a step away from him, I'm not a big fan of it. Not to say that what we do get isn't great, because we get a lot of point of views from the individual members of Bridge 4, which has been so much fun. I always forget how good it is to get more insight into those characters in this book, because like a lot of times we look at Bridge 4 as like this mass, and you don't kind of pick it apart and look at the individuals, and they are all very individual and very different, and they're all very similar, but they're all very different, and it's just, their dynamics are great. I love Bridge 4 with my whole heart, and just getting those point of views when you get to go like into Rock's Head and like Scar and Sigil, I love them. I love them all a lot. And I wanted to talk about is Shaylin, obviously, because so much is going on with her in this book. It's concerning. Good old Shaylin, am I right? God. I know in one of my clips that I talked about earlier, we talked about her like slow descent into full-on multiple personas crazy levels, but she hadn't really gone deep yet. It was just like, you know, the moment when she slips into it, and now I'm at the point where she's just full-on lost it, right? I've gotten deep enough now. There's that scene, there's multiple scenes, what am I talking about? There's like this one scene where she's like dressed as Vale, she has Vale on, but then she doesn't want like a Dolan to see her in Vale's clothes, like as Vale, so she puts like on a light weaving of Shaylin on top of Vale, and it's like, oh boy, you know, oh boy. And it just gets so much more intense from there. Like when she, I think I already talked about this earlier in the vlog, when she creates the persona of Radiant, and she hasn't quite devolved into the madness yet, but then the next time she puts on Vale after she becomes Radiant is like a whole thing. She has that moment when she's like, Pattern, did I accidentally kill my brothers? Did I forget this? What's happening? And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You need to calm the fuck down. Love Pattern. Anyways, Shaylin's descent into... See, the thing is, okay, I'm gonna backtrack a minute here. The thing is, everybody always talks about like the great mental health representation in the Stormlight archive, and how good Brandon Sanderson has been at handling that. But people usually use Kaladin as the main example of this. I mean, I'm also guilty of this because Kaladin is the one I relate to most, and especially in terms of his depression. And so I went on and on about that in my first 2 vlogs, because Kaladin is me, and especially now, I've been having such a rough time with my mental health lately, and my depression, and rereading these books at the same time that I'm dealing with that has been helpful, but it's also like hard to want to pick up the book when it's like I'm also just mentally not, you know, here. But anyways, that's besides the point. So people always talk about Kaladin's depression and all this stuff, but people don't really talk about Shaylin's mental health issues in the sense of them being like mental health issues, especially in the first 2 books. Like obviously it becomes very apparent that she's got so much going on in Oathbringer, but people don't really talk about it in the first 2 books. They only ever talk really about Kaladin's mental health issues. And the thing is, that's because in the first 2 books, Shaylin's a lot better at hiding it. She puts on the mask and pretends she's okay, but she's not. Like, she's consistently always pretending that she's okay and ignoring her problems and just putting them out of her mind, and that's her coping mechanisms, is just put on a mask, pretend you're okay, and keep on keeping on. And it's not like the healthiest coping mechanism, and it is one I relate to as well. But obviously, it, you know, it goes a step further in Oathbringer. Another fun thing, Evie just died, so, you know, that's... I mean, she's been dead. What am I saying? I just got to the flashback where you find out what happens to Evie, Dalinar's original wife, who he burned alive. Yeah, that is such a... Like, God, you go through the first books just, like, wondering what the fuck happened to this man's wife, why he doesn't remember, blah, blah, blah. And when you get the answers, it's just so much more and so much worse than you expected. Much about Dalinar's flashbacks in this book that are so tough to read, because in the first 2 books, like, you get this image of this man who's, like, this very honorable, wise, good man. And, like, it's constantly referenced in text in the first 2 books how, like, he was this great, like, warlord and this tyrant and, like, this, you know, just killer on a battlefield and, like, all these things. But, like, you don't see that person because Dalinar has evolved and changed, and you're seeing who he has become already. That's where he starts for us. Obviously, he evolves more past that point, but that's where we've seen him at the end of a journey and at the beginning of a journey. And when you get to his flashbacks and you see who he was before, it's so hard to put those 2 people, like, in the same image in your mind, to be like, wow, this is the Dalinar I know and this is who he was. And it's just, it's really rough. I think a lot of people probably have difficulty with reading Dalinar's flashbacks. I know a lot of people love them, and people who love Dalinar, I love Dalinar, he's one of my favorite characters, but for me personally, it was just like, it's such a stark difference, and it's really hard to, like, rationalize that they're the same person in text, even though, like, you've seen the journey he's gone on and how he's changed and how he's evolved. But it just goes to show that it's like, well, I love who this person is now, and I don't like who he was before, but he evolved and he changed and he wiped his mind and all these things, you know. But it's so, I don't know, his journey is just so well done, and it's such a good like, format of storytelling in showing you that, like, even the worst person can have a good redemption arc, can deserve a good redemption arc, is not past redemption, except Mosh, fuck Mosh. And it's just, it's so interesting, because, like, if you had started the story with Dalinar being who he was as a young man, and then let us watch him evolve into who he is now in his middling years when the Wave King starts, I feel like perception of him would be different, because a lot of people wouldn't be able to get past all of the horrible things he did. And being able to see who he became and then go back and look at it definitely shifts the perspective, I think, which I really like. It definitely makes it easier for me to, like, accept who he is now and be like, okay, this is the character that I love, and I really don't like who he was before, but he did go on this journey, and he's still on a journey. There's so much more to go, hopefully. Hopefully he's got much more journey left. We can only hope. There was this one passage, which is one of my favorite things that I've read in the Stormlight archive, in regards to the conversation about depression that I was on earlier. One of the things that I love so much that's touched upon in this book is just a small little section of text in Kaladin's point of view, where he's talking about how, like, he has good days and he has bad days, and on bad days it's hard to remember that you have good days. And it's just, it's such a true thing, because people who don't know you well and who don't experience those kind of levels of depression and mental health issues can see you on your good days and be like, you're fine, what's the big deal, you don't have depression, you were laughing 5 minutes ago, you know. And they don't really understand that you can have good moments and good days and even good weeks, but you can still slip back into that darkness at any moment. It's always there for most people, especially if you're not getting any kind of, like, therapy or on any kind of, like, antidepressants. If you're not getting any help at all, it's not going to go away on its own. That's not how these things work. It is a chemical imbalance in your brain. Anyways, a lot of people don't really understand that if they're not physically, like, the ones experiencing it. And just this little moment here of Kaladin saying this, it's one of my favorite things, because it's so so true to the core of how depression works. I mean, at least for me particularly. And anyways, let me just read it to you. It's short. The truth was, he was feeling pretty good these days. Yes, there was a war, and yes, the city was seriously stressed. But ever since he found his parents alive and well, he'd been feeling better. That wasn't so uncommon a feeling for him. He felt good lots of days. Trouble was, on the bad days, that was hard to remember. At those times, for some reason, he felt like he had always been in darkness, and always would be. Why was it so hard to remember? Did he have to keep slipping back down? Why couldn't he stay up here in the sunlight where everyone else lived? And just... it's so true. Like, it's just the most relatable thing. On the bad days, you cannot remember that you have those good days, that you can be okay in some moments, even if you're not always okay. It's impossible to be in that mindset when you are in your darker days. And it's just, oof. I love that scene so much with Kaladin, and I love it a lot. But like, so many people overlook Shaylin's depression and Shaylin's trauma and her like PTSD because of the way it's portrayed differently. Like, Kaladin's is very straightforward. I have depression. Even characters around him, you know, reference it a lot, like how he's gloomy and he's down and, you know, blah blah blah. It's very straightforward on the page, where Shaylin's whole mental health thing is very different. And so a lot of people, I feel like, just overlook it. Like, there's those moments when she's putting on the different personas and she starts thinking like how like worthless she herself is. Like, when she's as Veil or as Radiant or as just some random persona she puts on to sneak into some place, she's like, oh, you know, this is too, you know, this is too many personas. I need to get rid of something. This is too much. And then she's like, I should get rid of Shaylin. What is Shaylin doing? Like, I should get rid of Shaylin. She doesn't matter. And it's just goes to show you like how much she truly like hates herself and feels like she's worthless and doesn't like contribute anything, doesn't know anything. She's so stuck in this mindset that she does not deserve anything good. Like, when she's thinking about how much she like loves being with Adolin and like how much she loves spending time with him and how he makes her happy, she's like, can I create a persona that's the perfect girl for him? He deserves something much better than me. Like, she sees herself so lowly. And I just feel like a lot of people kind of just glimpse over that because of like all of her light weaving persona madness, you know, because she is always hiding who she is a lot of the time on page, especially in Oathbringer. She just descends a lot. It's bad. I don't know. Her mental health struggles are so important as well and so relatable to so many people. And I relate to them in some factions, not like her whole deal, just parts of it. But I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that because I'm always talking about Kaladin's depression and how I relate to it and how reading these books always helps me with the dealing with mine, and watching him go through that journey helps me on my journey, blah blah. So I just wanted to touch up and talk about Shaylin's journey because she is dealing with so many things as well, but people tend to just not pay attention to it as deeply for whatever reason. But yeah, like, she just deeply hates herself and thinks she's worthless, and I haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet in the book when she's like really getting into it, and it's rough. It's rough, guys. So I'll let you know when I do, because it's gonna make me cry. Oh, speaking of crying, that moment, obviously, a big moment, when Dalinar is showing his visions to like the other leaders and stuff, and he's got the prime of Azir in his vision, and Odium just shows the fuck on up and is like, sup, bitches, and it's such a like surreal experience because it's the first time you actually get to like see Odium on page and get to like talk to him as a being, and like, it's wild. But what's more wild is when Lift shows up in that vision and scares him away, and he's just like, he just runs. He's terrified of her. He doesn't understand. And she's just like, sup, bitches? Everybody's like, sup, bitches. That's the way of it. Lift is so great. I love Lift so much. I will update you guys again once I get through these 300-ish pages. Hello everyone, I am here to wrap up this reading vlog. I finished Oathbringer, finally, after a million years. I am done with this behemoth of a book. It took me forever, mostly because, as I talked about earlier in the vlog, my mental health was just tanking throughout this entire reread. Like, each vlog I'm like, oh, it's taking me so long to read these books because I can't be a human being anymore, and it just got worse and worse and worse. I am feeling better now. In the past like 2 weeks maybe, I've done some self-care, you know, I've been feeling a little bit better. Not a ton, but enough. So I was able to finish this book. There are so many tabs, 143 to be exact, I counted, In the first book, in Way of Kings, I think I had 43 tabs, so this is 100 more than I did in Way of Kings. And Words of Radiance, I had 75 tabs. So, it's a lot of tabbies. Like, I'm just gonna tab it all. So, it'll be interesting to kind of go back through and see of the things that I tabbed, like what's actually matters as far as like the things that I tabbed for foreshadowing and like information that's relevant and stuff, you know. We'll see if any of it's actually relevant later on in life, but it's done. It's good. I love this book. I forget how insane the last like 200 pages of this one is. Taking his clothes off. Every time even after, you know, reading the first two books 14 times, every time I get to the Sanderlanche at the end, it's just like my mind is still blown every time by how chaotic and intense and just fast-paced it is and how good it is. It's always so good. But it's like taken to a whole new level in Oathbringer because just so much more is happening. I feel like it's just, each book has kind of escalated a lot with the Sanderlanche, you know, as we call it, if you don't know what I mean by that. Like, at the end of every Sanderson book, especially Stormlight Archive, but I feel like most of his books, especially the bigger ones, the chunkier ones, tend to have what we call the Sanderlanche at the end, which is just like this avalanche of just snowballing events where everything is just, it's happening so fast and it's happening so much and it's a lot up until the final point of the book. And the Stormlight books have really big ones. It's literally like the last 200 pages for like each book. And it's just crazy, but it's so good. The battle at the end of this book is, it was fabulous, right? It's so good. This video is already really, really long. I just finished editing all the footage I have, and this is me filming the wrap-up, so I'm going to try to make this wrap-up really quick, because I did talk a lot about stuff in the beginning of the vlog, obviously. My thoughts on things and stuff, and the mental health stuff, and like all of that, you know. But I don't want to get too deep into it in my wrap-up here, because it's a long video already. So, just going to touch on a few things. Dalinar's journey is so well done. God, the fucking moment with "you cannot have my pain," it is so good. And then realizing the reason why he was getting the memories back slowly, kind of leading up to this showdown with Odium, was so he could withstand it and hold on to it. And it was just that, like, planning from cultivation was just, I cannot wait to get more of her. She is fucking, she's badass and I love her. She top tier shard. Yeah, that was so great, that scene, that entire scene. And then just fucking mirroring that when Kaladin and Adolin and Shaylin are in Shadesmar and everything's gone to shit and they're just trying so hard, each of them, to just figure this out and to get through the gate, and they can't do it. And then there's the moment where Kaladin is, I mean, he's technically ready, he's not ready, but he's technically ready. Like, he knows, he's in that moment when he knows he's supposed to swear the ideal, the fourth ideal, and he clearly knows what it is, and he cannot say the words. He cannot do it. He cannot accept what it is asking of him, because it goes against what he believes, what he is, who he is. And that just struggled for him when he's just like on the ground crying, like Adolin's bleeding out and like Shaylin's freaking out and Scylla's just hugging him, and it's just, it's so emotional and intense. And then on the other side of that, like, just the fucking battle is just going to fucking town in Thaylen City, right? And then Dalinar opens the perpendicularity. I am unity. Ooh, it's so good, guys. The ending of Oathbringer is so good. It's so fucking good. So yeah, I don't know. The whole battle is just fucking ridiculous. Once Kaladin and Adolin and Shaylin like join the fray, it gets so good. Shaylin's fucking like army of illusions is just so crazy, and like she's holding hands with herself. Her two different personas, with, she's got Radiant Veil on her side, and the moment when like Jasna comes over and like goes to grab Shaylin's hand and Shaylin just dissipates, and then she's like, I'm here, and it's like radiant, and it just, fuck, it's fucking insane. And then obviously Adolin in that entire like battle sequence is just the purest thing ever, right? He's just so fucking good. And like the way he's reviving his sword, God, I haven't talked about that at all in this vlog. The fucking relationship with Adolin and his sword is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. It's so good. And I don't know, I cannot wait to see what happens next with them. He's clearly reviving her, and it's just, love it. Love it so much. Obviously, just like the fight scenes in general were fucking crazy. The fucking like twist with Odium agreeing to a contest of champions, and then the reveal that his champion was Dalinar, like, that whole moment. And then Dalinar just refusing and saying, you cannot have my pain, and opening the perpendicularity with all his glory spread around him, and Odium being like, what the fuck, and running off. Just so good. Guys, it's so good. It's so fucking good. I cannot wait to read Rhythm of War and see what happens next. And now that I am done with this book, we're still waiting for Casey to finish her reread. She's 400 or 500 some pages in, I think. I'm not quite sure. So once she finishes her reread, our friend Alex just finished her reread as well, and we're going to film our Stormlight for predictions video once she's done, which will hopefully be in the near future. It'll obviously come out sometime before Rhythm of War comes out. So hopefully maybe by the end of October we'll get that video up. And I'm really, really excited about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for that. There's a lot more I could say about this, but this video is just like heckin' long already, and I'm so sorry. Like, if you stuck through to the end of this, thank you. I appreciate you. There's just like, there's so much more I could talk about, especially just like in that last like 200 pages of the book. It's so good. It's so good. That moment when they're like arguing about like who's gonna be king, and Adolan's like, no, not me, I killed Sadeas, you don't want me on the throne. I love his just panicked moment of like blurting that out, like, you can't do this, I killed Sadeas, like, get out of here with that. And then when Shaylin's like, have you guys ever thought of, you know, maybe putting Jasna on the throne? Like, this makes the most sense. Listen. And I'm just so fucking hyped to see Jasna just in charge. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fabulous. We rounded off the end of the book with the Fused giving Moshe a special little knife to kill a herald. Fucking Jezreel is dead. Dead. Not like temporary dead. Dead. And it's fucking wild. There's just like so much going on there, and it's fucking wild. Of course, the very end of the book, the wonderful Wit epilogue, with Wit getting a spren, a cryptic no less, which is fitting, obviously, especially because, you know, light weaving, he already has light weaving. It just, I'm excited to see what happens there. It's gonna be great, and I cannot wait to see Wit with a spren. It's gonna be great. I really hope we get a lot of Wit in Rhythm of War. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this at that. There's just so much more I can say. If you want to come chat with me in the comments about it, please do. As you know, this is my favorite series in the whole wide world. I love the Cosmere more than anything, and I could just talk about it for days and days and days. So if you want to discuss anything from the first 3 books with me in the comments down below, please do. Just don't discuss anything from the preview chapters from Rhythm of War, because I have not read those yet. Now that I'm finished with this reread, I will probably read those soon. I don't know. I've been able to hold off from reading them because I've been doing my reread for this long. So it's like I'm kind of tempted to just not read them and just read the whole thing when it comes out in November. But I don't know. We'll have to crowdsource that among the group. See what everybody's feeling. So I'll let you guys know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, and remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, especially if you would like to see more Cosmere/Stormlight archive content from Casey and I, because we've got several videos planned for the near future, and I don't think that there will ever be a point when I'm just not coming up with Cosmere related ideas to put out on this channel, because it's who I am as a person. It's my brand. So stay tuned if you're interested in more Cosmere content. And if you're not, I'm sorry that it's dominating everything right now. I promise there's other stuff coming on the channel too, just for you guys, okay? Right, we're done here. Wrap it up. Life before death, Radiance.